Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to talk about the naming conventions and best practice to consider. So, naming conventions in Power Query are very essential for maintaining a structured, understandable, and maintainable code base. By adhering to these guidelines, you ensure that the consistency, clarity, and the ease of navigation within your Power Query scripts is maintained. Here are some of the important points why it is important to perform some specific naming conventions. So, the first point is I'll annotate it over here: clarity and readability. If we talk about this clarity and readability, so descriptive names and consistent naming conventions make it very easy for yourself and others to understand the purpose and functionality of the queries, functions, parameters, and variables. This clarity improves code comprehensions, reduces the ambiguity, and facilitates the collaboration among team members. The second one is maintainability. Well-named queries and functions are easier to maintain and modify over the time. When you revisit your code base to make some changes or enhancement, clear naming conventions would help you quickly identify the relevant components and understand and identify their functionality, which reduces the risk of introducing errors during these updates. The third is organization and structure. Naming conventions provide a framework for your organization, your queries and functions logically. By grouping related queries together and using prefixes and suffixes to categorize them by type or purpose, you create a structured and navigable code base that enhances the productivity and efficiency, especially in larger projects with numerous components. The fourth one is documentation and understanding. So, in this, meaningful names and consistent conventions serve as a form of documentation for your code. They convey important information about the purpose, like inputs, outputs, and dependencies of each query or function, which reduces the need for additional comments and annotations. This self documentation aspect of well named codes improves the code understanding and reduces the learning curve for new team members. The next one is debugging and troubleshooting. So, if we talk about debugging and troubleshooting, so clear and consistent naming conventions aid in debugging and troubleshooting efforts. When encountering errors or unexpected behaviors, descriptive names help you quickly identify the relevant components and understanding their role in the data transformation process. This streamlined the debugging process, accelerates the issues resolution, and minimizes the downtime. So, overall, if we follow these steps, and adhere to the naming convention and best practices in Power Query, we would promote code clarity, maintainability, organization, and understanding. It fosters the collaboration, reduces the error, and enhances the overall efficiency and effectiveness of your data transformation workflows in Power BI. After that, we will see how can you do these naming conventions and how can you perform these best practices. So the first one is descriptive names. So you can opt for names that clearly convey the purpose or content of the query, function, or variable, which enhances the readability and comprehension. For instance, instead of using generic names like query1 or function A, so let's say I'm writing over here query1 function A, you can choose some descriptive names like sales data. So let's say if you are making any column and you are naming it query1, instead of that, you can name it sales data if we are talking about a table over here. And also, you can provide the context and the understanding of your table or any kind of column over there. The next one is using CamelCase or underscores. So let's say if you are employing the consistent naming conventions like CamelCase over here or underscores over here for clarity and uniformity. This will ensure that the names are easy to read and distinguish regardless of their length or complexity. Then we have this avoiding special characters. So minimize the use of special characters, spaces, or punctuations to prevent the syntax errors and ensure the compatibility. Special characters can sometimes lead to the unexpected behavior or errors, especially when working with different data sources or platforms. The next one is using prefixes or suffixes. So you can employ the prefixes or suffixes to categorize the queries by type of purpose, which would aid in organization and identification. For example, prefix transformation queries with transform or suffix lookup tables with lookup to identify their role in the data transformation process. The next one is organize the queries. So you can arrange the related queries logically within the folders or hierarchies to maintain a structured and manageable code base. Group queries based on their function, data source, or processing stage to facilitate the navigation and management, especially in larger kind of projects. Then we have the next point, comments and documentation. So you can add in comments and documentation to clarify the complex logic or assumptions, fostering the understanding and collaboration. Document the purpose, input, output, and any specific considerations or dependencies of each query to provide the guidance for future maintenance or modification. Then we have the modularity and reusability. So you can break down some complex operations into reusable functions or queries, which would promote the efficiency and scalability. So in this case, you can identify common patterns or tasks that can be encapsulated into separate functions, allowing them to be reused across multiple workflows and reducing the redundancy in the code. The next part is the error handling. So you can implement the error handling mechanism to gracefully manage errors and provide informative feedback or logging. Use try catch blocks or error handling functions to anticipate and handle potential errors, ensuring that the code can handle unexpected conditions without crashing or producing inaccurate results. The next is parameterization. So you can use the parameters to customize the query behavior without altering the code, enhancing the flexibility and usability. Parameterized values that are likely to change or vary across different scenarios allows the user to adjust settings or configurations dynamically without modifying the underlying code. The last one is testing and validation. So thoroughly test queries against various scenarios and data sets to ensure the accuracy, reliability, and performance. You can also validate the query results against expected outcomes to detect and address any discrepancies or anomalies, and conduct the rigorous testing across different data sources, formats, and conditions to uncover the potential issues early in the development process. So these were some of the steps that you can do while you are performing some naming conventions and the best practices if you are considering those things. We will be also looking at some of this in the upcoming sessions where we will be working with the Power Query Editor and the Power BI. So we will see how can you just use these things to improve your particular report also. This was all for this session. Thank you.